Thank you so much for coming back to another video, and in today's video we're going to be talking about Halloweentown. Rashad G Reviews is back once again to talk about another movie. This time I forced him to watch Halloweentown, and you guys can expect to see him in the reviews for all 4 Halloweentown movies. I'm super excited to make him watch these movies. I gave him purposely a bunch of good movies in a row, knowing that he'd like those movies or at least be entertained by those movies, purposely so I could give him some movies that I knew he probably wasn't going to be a big fan of, but I really was curious to see what he would say because his viewpoint on films just makes me laugh sometimes because of, you know, these movies are not for him. You know what I mean? These movies are movies that I grew up with as a kid, and I'm going back to rewatch as nostalgia and kind of just add to my library of reviews. But yeah, here we go. We're going to hear from Rashad in just a little bit. We're going to be talking about Halloweentown, a Disney Channel original movie that came out when I was a kid, a film that played on Disney Channel every Halloween for years and years and years. It is a movie that I have tons and tons of fond memories of. And it's just a franchise that is just super silly, over the top, and I feel just more importantly leans into the fun side of Halloween. If you guys have been watching this channel for a while, it's no surprise that I am a huge fan of horror, monsters, creatures, sci-fi, fantasy. All that stuff has always been something that I've always kind of leaned into a lot more. It speaks to me, it's fun, it's silly, it's over the top. And what I love about this film is that it just leans into the fun side of Halloween that I've always enjoyed. You know, I love the horror element, I love the creepy element, I love gore and blood and monsters and all that stuff. But this movie just kind of leans into the silly fun, putting on a costume, the world of just costumes and Halloween, you know, decorations and all that jazz. So let's talk a little bit about this movie. At the beginning of this movie, we're introduced to a family where the kids are not being allowed to go out and trick-or-treat with everybody, and they're pretty bummed on that, you know, specifically the oldest daughter in this family named Marnie. And yeah, you know, she's really bummed on the idea that she can't go out. She's really talking back to her mom, and there's a lot of moments in this movie that she's talking back to her mom. But yeah, you have these 3 kids. The son of the family, whose name is Dylan, he doesn't really care, you know what I mean? He's kind of like the good kid of the family. But then you have Marnie, the oldest daughter, who's the main character of the movie, and then you have her younger sister, Sophie. And the 2 of them are definitely bummed out that they can't go out and have a good time with the other kids and go and trick-or-treat. And they established pretty early that, you know, Marnie specifically, the oldest, you know, she's always had this inclination to kind of just lean into things that are creepy and weird. She's always been a fan of Halloween and horror-related things, and she's just always loved that stuff, which is, you know, very common, right? But they paint it out to be something super different, like it's just something that's always kind of, that she's always kind of been pulled to, you know what I mean? Which is always think is funny. And then her mom, Gwen, who's actually played by the same actress who played April O'Neil in the first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie. Yeah, you know, she's in this movie, and, you know, she's just kind of the strict mom who doesn't want them to go out and eat candy and you know, be a part of this whole Halloween event. And not too long into the film, we're visited by Debbie Reynolds' character, Aggie, who comes down from this magical school bus that just appears out of nowhere. She comes down with this little bag that follows her around that she can talk to, and she can fit everything and anything into. Very like Mary Poppins-esque, you know what I mean? And yeah, so she ends up showing up, and it turns out that she's the grandma of these 3 kids. She's the mother of Gwen, the mother played, you know, by the lady from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I should probably start giving you guys their names. Marnie, the oldest daughter, is played by Kimberly J. Brown. Judith Hoag, I believe is what her name is the actress who plays the mom, Gwen, and she's from TMNT. You have Joey Zimmerman, who plays the son, Dylan. And then you have Emily Rosk, I believe is how her name is pronounced, who plays Sophie, the youngest daughter. And like I mentioned, Debbie Reynolds, who plays the grandma. And Debbie Reynolds, I think, is the best part of this movie. You know, she's a fantastic actress, and she comes from a very theatrical age of cinema, and I just always really enjoyed her performance in this film. I think she gives the most believable performance in this film, and as I was rewatching it, my girlfriend and I both kind of agreed that she's kind of too good for this movie, because she is a really phenomenal actress who has been in so many classic films, and I think that she just understood what this movie was, the cheese of it all, and just leaned into it. So before we get into Rashad's thoughts on this, the basic premise of this is, not too long into it, we learn that there is a separate world, a separate universe called Halloweentown, and that in the past, at some point, there was some separation between the mortal world and Halloweentown. And when you go to Halloweentown, it is essentially this just world of just monsters and creatures, but they all just live a normal life. They have a normal society. They go to the grocery store. They go get haircuts, all that jazz. It just so happens that this world is filled with ghouls and goblins and werewolves and, monsters like Frankenstein and, gremlins. There's literally creatures in this world or people that look like gremlins.
It's not like the old days. People are genius. I race a demon from the underworld, and they say, big deal, I saw the same thing on Jerry Springer.
And yeah, just like a world of monsters and Halloween creatures, but they all live a normal life. They go to the dentist, they go grocery shopping, they go watch movies. It's just a normal world, just filled with Halloween things. And then they established that the real world, or the mortal world, I should say, they kind of took the Halloween world from the past. They took the Halloween traditions and created it to be this holiday, and now it's so far into the future that we just kind of celebrate Halloween as this normal thing, not knowing that there was this world at one point where Halloween characters and Halloween creatures walked amongst the mortal world, but now it's separated. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's the basic premise, and I'm going to continue talking about that in just one second. But before we get any further, let's go ahead and hear what Rashad had to say about this.
Hello, once again. This is Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, and I wanted to give a Terramana toast to my friend Rashad G, who has to review a Disney movie once again that Anthony A. Perez recommended to him called Halloweentown. So, Rashad, here's a Terramana toast to you, buddy. Get through this and drink plain Terramana tequila. Go Rock. I just tried to make my chest jump. Anthony A. Perez, my man, my brother, my ace. I was excited about the pick that you were going to give to me because we've been on a roll. You've been recommending some really good films to me. And yeah, here we go again. As a matter of fact, okay, you were supposed to give me Sicario 2, and I was going to watch that. And then he was like, hey, man, Halloween's coming up. I want you to check this movie out instead. Now, before I saw the picture of what I was going to watch, I said, okay, scary movies. I love Halloweentown. This is my favorite time of the year. He gives me Halloweentown from Disney. Oh, this movie's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. Starts out with these kids talking back to their mama. Matter of fact, it was the oldest daughter talking back to her mama, played by Judith Hoag. April O'Neil from the Ninja Turtles, from the first Ninja Turtles. Talking back to her. Now, this little girl needs her ass beat. I know this is Disney. They can't show child's getting their asses whooped, but that little girl needed her ass tore out the frame. She needed an old-fashioned George ass whoop, but she kept talking back to her mama, and the mama kept looking like, dear, stop it. Okay, dear, that's enough. That's enough now. I've had it. What? Let me tell you something. If that was Helen Jr., my mama, it'd have been, every lick would have been a syllable. Sit your ass down, and the next time, put your hand down, the next time I tell your ass something, you're gonna listen. The premise is actually interesting. This little girl, she wants to go out trick-or-treating. The mama won't let her. There's a mysterious reason why the mom won't let the kids celebrate Halloween. Come to find out, it's because they're all witches. And Debbie Reynolds, she's like the main witch. She's the grandmother that comes in on a horribly CGI that looked like it was made by the first Adobe Premiere ever, flying down and tells the daughter that it is her destiny. She is a witch. She has powers, and she needs to be trained in the way of the Jedi arts, of the witch arts. And so she must fulfill her destiny. And come to find out, all the kids have these so-called powers or whatever. They go to Halloweentown and discover their roots. The premise was actually okay. I think even if they wanted to do like a bigger budget movie, I could see like a Tim Burton directing this or somebody like that. Somebody that can take a premise that silly and still make it cheesy, but yet kind of cool at the same time and give it that, give it that spice, to make it kind of a cult classic. This was made back in '98. So, and this is a straight for Disney Channel movie. I didn't expect anything more. I expected a cheese fest. I expected some horrible effects. I expected some bad makeup. So I really can't shit on this movie because this movie was exactly what I thought it was going to be. But I will give it some props. It did have a charm to it. I tried to watch this through the eyes of an 8 to 10-year-old. But even 8 to 10-year-old Rashad was watching shit that I had no business watching. All right, I was watching horror movies with a lot of boobies in there. I wasn't watching anything Disney by 8 to 10 years old. All my shits was either rated R or PG-13. Maybe now and then I'll slip a PG movie in there. Probably explains why I'm a little fucked up now. So yeah, Perez, not terrible. If I give this a grade, if I give it a grade, I'm gonna still give it a D. You know, even though I'm giving it a low grade, but this is what I expected it to be. I expected it to be this bad. I expected this to be cheesy as fuck. So, bruh, not to take much time, as I know you want to talk more about this, man. So the floor is yours. What else you got for Halloweentown? And I'm gonna tell you something right now. If you give me Halloweentown 2, bruh, if you give me Halloweentown 2, man, you're gonna have a problem. All right, we gonna have to go rock and stone cold for real up in this motherfucker. All right. Rashad G signing out, man. Peace.
As usual, a big thanks to Rashad for being here in this video, man. You had me dying of laughter. And Rashad actually didn't mention it, but in this movie, there's actually a part where when the kids get to Halloweentown, they come across this taxi driver named Benny, I believe his name is, and he's this skeleton, and it's a really solid animatronic. I really enjoyed the animatronic work on this skeleton. I think it was one of the main things that really held up when it came to this movie. The effect on him, you know, it's a little cheesy, but it does hold up, and it's kind of leans into the fun, whimsical side of this movie. But yeah, he's this fun, kind of over-the-top character. But the reason I bring him up is because Rashad actually messaged me telling me that he felt that character, Benny, was actually his favorite part of the movie, but he forgot to mention it in his review, so I figured I'd mention it. But a big thanks to Rashad for being in this video. As usual, you can find a link to his channel down below in the description box. Go give him some love. Can't wait to hear what you have to say about Halloweentown 2, Calabar's Revenge. So yeah, let's pick up from where I left off. So Aggie has come now to the mortal world on Halloween. She has a short period of time to spend with her grandchildren, and she really is mainly there to talk her daughter, Gwen, into coming back to Halloweentown. Gwen left at some point because she wants to be separated from the Halloween world. She wants to be normal. She wants to live a normal life. She ended up falling in love and marrying a mortal person, just a regular human, ended up having these 3 kids with them, and now she just wants to stay in the normal world. And Aggie wants her to come back to Halloweentown because there's some sort of darkness that back there, and their bloodline, the Cromwell witches, the Cromwell bloodline, is important. You know what I mean? They need to come back and destroy and vanquish this evil. They're a strong bloodline of witches. So we are introduced to the fact that Debbie Reynolds' character is this witch. She's a very experienced witch. Gwen is also a witch, and she's kind of denounced that lifestyle. And the kids are witches, and you know, the son is a warlock, except they don't really know it just yet. They've exhibited powers, they've kind of shown that they have this in them, but she's kind of tried to suppress it. The reason that Debbie Reynolds' Aggie is actually there now is because it's the 13th Halloween of Marnie, the oldest daughter, and that's when a witch's training should be done and their powers should be at their best. So she kind of wants to come back and try to start training Marnie to be this witch so that she can come back home and, you know, be a part of this whole Halloweentown thing. And that's essentially what starts off their adventure. The mom obviously says no, and the kids end up sneaking their way onto the bus when their grandma is going back, and they go to Halloweentown. And yeah, I've just always enjoyed the world of Halloweentown. I just find it to be really cool. And as Rashad said, I've always felt that if they were to reboot this premise with a really solid director and use some great practical effects, it could be really good. Because when you watch this movie, it's a made-for-TV movie. It's cheesy. It's a Disney made-for-TV movie. But there's a pretty great use of makeup and you know, practical effects. Some of the digital effects in the movie are definitely the most dated elements, and some of the practical effects and makeup is definitely cheesy. But a lot of it is really solid. I really enjoy a lot of the mask and a lot of the different things that people are wearing and doing, the makeup on their face. Now, there is some inconsistencies in the film that I found funny, where you'll have a creature that has some sort of like green, like goblin-like head, or like some sort of, you know, some sort of monstrous face, and all of the time and makeup went into the person's face, and you know, like literally around the eyes, they have different colored eyes and all that jazz, but then they literally have like human arms and human hands, you know what I mean? They're not green. So I almost feel like that was an oversight, you know what I mean? So there's much stuff like that where this movie is not perfect by any way, shape, or form. It's silly, it's over the top, it's a good time though, and I've always just had a good time with this movie. I find it to just be nothing more than a silly good time, and rewatching it, I felt the exact same way. Now, this is by no means a movie that's going to be for everybody. This movie is made for a younger audience. It was made for a younger audience when I was younger, and you know, it's definitely super cheesy, but I think if you have kids and it's something you're kind of like looking to kind of watch something silly and fun in a Halloween themed kind of thing without kind of having to lean into something spooky, I think that this is definitely a good movie that people today could still watch and kind of have a good time with, and maybe if anything have a laugh at, because it is a movie that you can kind of poke fun at, but just have a good time with it, because the story is actually pretty good. There is a 3-act structure that is set up, and by the end of the movie there is a conclusion to the story that has been built up, and there's some really great moments, like I said, with some of the practical effects. There are some really cheesy digital effects, but I find that it's pretty solid, and I enjoy the adventure of these characters going by the end of the movie. These characters learning that they have this power in them, and seeing their mother Gwen kind of having to, you know, understand that this is who their kids were meant to be, and also kind of having this call to arms that she kind of has, where she realizes that she does need to help her mom take out this evil that is taking over Halloweentown. So yeah, for a silly made for Disney TV Halloween themed film from when I was a kid, I think it holds up. There's elements about it that don't, and I think that there was elements about it that didn't even when it came out, you know what I mean? I think you just have to know what it is that you're watching, but I found it to be a good time to go back and revisit. It was silly, it was over the top. Thanks again, Rashad, for checking out this movie. Like I mentioned, this movie is by no means perfect, but I think that it's a good time. I enjoy the cast. Some of the performances in this film are laughable, but some of them are really good, and I enjoy the characters of this movie. One of the funniest characters in the movie for me is the son, Dylan, because he's super skeptical, and he's kind of like that nerdy kid who just, he's like kind of a know-it-all, but he kind of comes off a little, you know, snarky all the time, and his responses to the characters in the movie actually made me laugh quite a few good times in the movie, and I just enjoy the journey. And thinking forward in the other movies, I think they get better over time, and I'm really curious to see what Rashad thinks, because even if these movies are silly and goofy and he kind of feels like, why the fuck am I watching this? I know that Rashad would never watch this, but I am curious to see what you think as the movies progress, because naturally when you watch sequels and stuff, you start to get a little bit more attached to the characters and understand the world a little bit more, and I think that as you get a little bit further into these movies, you'll realize that these characters and their journey in this silly, whimsical world is actually a pretty good time. So Halloweentown, can't wait to hear what you guys have to say. Hit that like button down below if you guys enjoyed this video. Comment your thoughts. Have you seen this movie? Have you never seen this movie? You should check out this movie out if you are looking for something fun to watch in this Halloween season. So Halloweentown, it's on Disney Plus right now. All 4 of them are. The 4th one is my least favorite, and we'll talk about that when we get there. And the biggest gripe I have about that movie is they recast the main character of the first 3, which is always a bummer, you know what I mean? Like, they shouldn't have even made the 4th one. But anyway, Halloweentown, comment your thoughts, hit that like button, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.